morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Hi.
Morning, Rhoda. You figured it out?
Yep.
Okay. People getting up early in the morning.
No, I've gotten a bunch done so far today.
Hey, Alex, good to see you. You just I'm just amazed. Just amazed. I know that three other people said they were going to sign on, so we'll just give it a minute or two. And the guy from Tennessee, Barrow, is that his
Yeah,
name?
Lee. Yeah.
Yeah, he sent back an email. I don't know if he'll sign on, but he sent back that he wanted to join
Okay,
us.
good.
So we'll see how it goes.
Just this second started to pour. Is it raining where you are?
It did for a second.
Right now
No,
it's
it's
coming
not
down
raining.
in sheets. It's amazing. Wow. Yeah.
No, ma'am, it is not raining. Hopefully, all of us in are you in Marion County?
Yes.
I know you are, Rhoda.
No, I'm not. I'm in Boone.
Yeah, right. You guys have freedom.
Yes,
You
we do.
can be yourselves if you want to. Yes, it's really interesting to me
Yeah, I was a little surprised that how he's handling this right now. I don't think he's making any friends. That's for sure.
yeah, I'm not a big protester, but wow, if you go along 96th Street, if you're on one side of the street, you can do limited business. If you're on the other side, you can't.
Yeah,
I,
it makes no sense to me.
I just it's odd.
And,
It's
and,
odd.
and he's killing people. He's
Yeah,
killing
it's
businesses here. I just don't
oh
get it.
man, it is very. Hey Claire, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. We're just talking about the Marion County staying home situation. It's different. Let's put it that way.
I didn't hear it. I was too deep in customer work yesterday and I didn't watch the news last night. So fill me in real quick.
Well, Marion County is going to extend its stay at home in place until June 1st,
Oh,
which is interesting. I was telling Alex, if you drive along 96th Street North, right? One side's Marion County, the other side's Hamilton County. So it's just a challenge for me. It's just
yeah.
a challenge. So I don't get it. People smarter than me are going to have to come up with answers. So
Yeah, my
Yeah.
my wife was going to go to a salon to get her hair done. They'd already set up her appointment, rescheduled it, and everything. And then it's in Marion County. And they called her yesterday. Or they sent her an email yesterday saying, obviously because of Foxette's ruling, they're going to have to reschedule. They're working on rescheduling 2,000 appointments.
yeah, yeah.
2,000. That's a lot of business.
Well, I just don't believe that the recession will be as deep as people think because the fundamentals for business, as you know, Alex, they have not changed. They just got
Right.
interrupted. So I think, and the social cushion is so much different now. This is not 1929, where
Oh, yeah,
50
no.
something percent of the all people received prior to the event received some form of government transfer, whether it was unemployment or whether it was Social Security. So the if you weren't working, I get that, but the absolute bottom, it would have been a challenge for that to fall out. So it's a little bit
hmm
different, I think, a little bit different perspective. So
Well, not
we'll
only
find.
that, with the Fed back in, the Depression era, they actually responded in the opposite way they're doing now. They actually tightened.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy, right? It was like, oh, we'll just take all the money out. It's
Yeah.
like that. Nuts.
But,
So
they've only been around since 1913 at that point, so not very long, not even 20 years. So they still didn't know what they're doing. I'm still not
yeah.
convinced they know what they're doing, but
Sorry to interrupt. Marianne said the dial-in number didn't work for her.
Huh.
She sent an email. So I don't know if maybe she's on the wrong one or whatever.
I don't know. That's the only number Zoom hands out.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't. That's the only one they give us. It's a
Well,
hot situation.
I'll see if I
I wonder
can
why.
text her with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just let her know that's the only number we get that they give us. They have one number that they just, I guess is a master log, and then you give that ID, and that's it. So I don't know what's going on there. So we'll give one more minute, and then we'll move through this process. It's kind of funny. I was talking to Alex earlier. I had never done one of these things before COVID, so I've got some interesting observations about doing them and some funny stuff about me. Not that I'm not funny all the time, but it's just been an interesting journey for me. So let's get rolling here. I don't know what's wrong with the Mary Ann's connection. Like I said, the only number that I have would have been the number that that Zoom gives us, and they only give one national number, and then you just sign in with that ID. So obviously,
Yeah, I'm texting her.
yeah, after
Maybe she
this
can get
meeting, I'll check that out. So we'll get going here, and if somebody else joins, it's fine. If not, we'll just keep it moving. So first off, I guess if anybody got any business they want to talk about, because my presentation is only going to take about 15 or 20 minutes. So anything new with anybody?
Found out a couple more of my customers got the PPP loan, and then all of the confusion by the lack of clear instructions of what can and can't be included. Because one of my customers has a union, and so there's required employer contributions that are part of her payroll. And so trying to figure that out. Are they included? Are they not included? She's listened to several webinars, and some of the discussion was the professional fees can be included for like accountants. Another comment was liability insurance. The required liability insurance can be included, and so it's constantly changing. So there's just so much confusion, which is causing delays in people being productive as well. Because I was in quite a bit of conversation with her yesterday about it, and I'm not the expert about that program and those types of things in our office. One of our other managers, because I only have like 3 customers that has it, and I'm deep into a lot of different variety of stuff, and so I just kind of send them to the other manager to kind of work through that. But you're going to hear a lot of people going, well, it's at the end of 8 weeks, but am I really going to be forgiven all this because I followed the rules that you originally said, but then you changed the rules. And so there's a lot of confusion out there on how to administer that in-house.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that, how that's going to work. It's just got a lot of moving parts, and the rules today changed, and they change tomorrow. I think it's just going to be really, really tough. I think the real problem is going to be those businesses that partially meet these conditions, and I think there's going to be a ton of them. What do they do? And I don't have any answer for this. This is floating in the air as far as I'm concerned. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of the rules are going to end up getting relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
That's my gut. And I think probably in the next bill that goes through, you'll see some relaxation of those rules on the 8 weeks and all that type of thing.
Well, there's also the challenge about.
Hi, Mary Ann.
There you are.
Yeah.
I know I don't read a lot of the news and that stuff because it's too depressing. But I heard that the AICPA jumped in and said that it's not right for the IRS to tell businesses they can't claim those, payroll, everything that's going to be covered by the PPP loan, because it creates more confusion and more challenging parts for the businesses in an already difficult time.
Right.
Yeah, there's no magic bullet here. So I'm kind of like Alex. I think the administrators are going to be flexible in terms of how and when you interpreted it. I think the real challenge to me is that small businesses, that the sub 25 member companies, really, I don't think had an opportunity to take advantage of this thing. I just think it's awful. I think that is awful. The more allocate resources to managing the administration of it, the likelihood that you got the money. And I just think that's wrong, but that's Keith's opinion. That nobody cares about that.
Well, they're actually in the process right now reviewing any loan over 2 million. They're reviewing and making sure those loans were valid loans, and they're actually going to give people, even if there was something criminal involved, which they may not know was criminal, they're going to give them the opportunity to pay it back to the government, and so that they can redistribute that to smaller businesses. So they are looking at that right now.
Well, all of this went down so quickly that they were not able to dot the I's and cross the T's. That's exactly what happened, And in situations like that, there's always people who are ambitious or greedy, So, and that happens, yeah.
But a lot of them, I can't blame. I mean, if the rules are such that you can apply, why wouldn't you?
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't agree with that, Alex, but that's because I apply some moral principles into this. And it's just like people who have gotten the 1,200 and don't need the 1,200. I can't tell you the number of people I know who are taking that 1,200 and going to food banks.
No doubt about it. But I mean, everybody got the 1,200 whether they need it or not.
Right. And
but
there's a moral principle involved in all this.
A lot of that 1,200, that 1,200 was based on what happened to you in 2018. So there's people that made good money in 2018 that may be out of a job right now also. So.
Right. Yeah. I'm like Alex. If they tell me what the rules are at that time and I play by those rules, I understand morality, but business and morality often conflict. That's not new. So
It doesn't mean that it's
if I played by the rules and I understood the rules, and the rules at that time were legal and implemented, I can see why management of a business might aggressively go after that money. And obviously we can have a big long debate about morality in business, but I don't think anybody ever wants to have that debate. So there's lots of reasons for that. So that being said, if we got any other new business, I don't know what's going to happen in terms of, I have not heard from Andrew. So I don't know what happens come June 1st when Marion County comes back. We were just discussing earlier, Mary Ann, that the Marion County has extended their stay in place until June 1st. Right. So I don't know what that means in terms of us meeting. So we'll just continue to do this. And next week, John is up. So we'll just deal with it and we'll figure it out. At some point, I would assume that Andrew will get a hold of someone and then make sure that we are still clear to come to duels. I mean, at this moment, no one can give me any administrative guidance on what our relationship is with duos. So that's the best we can do. We'll deal with it when it comes up, one way or the other. So we'll move forward from that.
Well, one thing is that they are on the 17th. They're opening to outside eating.
Yeah, you can have outdoor dining in Marion County.
Right. Yeah, and Duos has an outdoor dining area, but I have a contact there, and I'll be happy to contact them and see what they say.
Yeah, if you would follow up on that, Mary Ann, and then let us all know what might be happening. I mean, because obviously we don't want to show up and find out that the door is locked. And then also their entry and exit procedures, their minimum number of people, that kind of thing, whatever their rules are. Because for a tentative amount of time, there will be rules. And if they've got a 5-person rule or a 6-person rule, we'll just have to deal with it and then figure out what we're going to do. Good morning, John.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry.
Hey, no problem.
Couldn't find the
John,
link.
So I'm sorry, what were you saying, Rhoda?
I have two things to contribute. One is that on a Zoom networking meeting last night, I met two speakers, potential speakers one's from Ohio, that are willing to be our speaker for network if we have an online meeting. So I am slated to contact them today, and then I'll send their information to John and to you, and you can invite them to do this. One of them is a business consultant to businesses of $1 million or more, but then he has a training program for small businesses. And so this is someone with many decades of experience. So in other words, there are two possible speakers that I could bring.
No problem.
So I will
Follow
put
up.
those in. The other thing is that I don't know whether any of you got this also, but I got a really inspiring piece in email from a friend that really will set a good mood. It says, for a small amount of perspective, imagine that you were born in 1900. On your 14th birthday, World War I started, and it ends on your 18th birthday with 22 million people dead. Later in the year, a Spanish flu epidemic hits the planet and runs until your 20th birthday. 50 million people die from it. 50 million in 2 years. On your 29th birthday, the Great Depression begins. Unemployment hits 25%. The world GDP drops 27%. And that continues until you're 33 years old. The country nearly collapses. When you turn 39, World War II starts. You're not even over the hill yet. And don't try to catch your breath, because on your 41st birthday, the United States is pulled into World War II. Between your 39th and 45th birthday, 75 million people die. Smallpox was epidemic until you were in your 40s, and it killed 300 million people during your lifetime. At 50, the Korean War starts. 5 million perish. From your birth until you're 55, you deal with the fear of polio epidemics each summer. At 55, the Vietnam War begins and doesn't end for 20 years. 4 more million people perish. During the Cold War, you live each day with the fear of nuclear annihilation. On your 62nd birthday, you have the Cuban Missile Crisis, a tipping point in the Cold War. Life on the planet as we know it almost ended. When you turn 75, the Vietnam War finally ends. Think of everyone on the planet that was born in 1900. How did they endure all of that? And how they survived everything listed above? Let's try and keep things in perspective. Your parents and our grandparents were called to endure all of the above. And you're called to stay home and sit on the couch.
With that, I think that moves us into the next phase here. This is very, very interesting. So real quick, before I get started, John, you're up next week, or are you going to be ready to go? If not, just let us know. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, I'll share something
Yeah.
real estate related update.
That'll be fine.
And by the way, John, I like your update emails. Keeps me updated on how the real estate market's doing. So thank you for those.
You're welcome. Thank you for reading those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So with that, let me start this, what I call my basic video conference skills, and it's going to be presenting you at your best. I've got a little slide program, but what made me want to do this was I had never, ever done a video conference before. So due to COVID-19, obviously that involved us making some changes. So this is kind of my journey through this. I thought it'd be really, really interesting for us as a group to walk through this. And these are kind of points and highlights that I've learned in terms of doing video conferencing. So I'm going to do a share screen real quick and we'll get started on this thing, which is another thing. We want to talk about some etiquette. I'm going to do this share screen, but I did this intentionally. I always recommend that now that I've done it, is that when you start sharing that screen, if you're going to do like a video presentation, all this other junk you probably may not want that on there. But I left it intentionally just to show, like, hey, since I'm only going to be doing this one thing, all these comments, because you don't know what kind of notes and stuff you've been on. So you want to shut all that stuff down. But I left it up there intentionally just to show you. So we're going to get into my talk, and I think you're going to find it's kind of interesting. So hey, this is going to be called Basic Video Conference Skills, and it's talking about presenting you at your best. Just a little history real quick. Remote conferencing, it's not new. It's been around a long time. So this graphic is kind of a timeline of video. Video is relatively recent, starting in the 1960s and coming, all the way up to the 2000s, etc. And it's during the 2000s that we first start running into consumer level video with things like Skype and iChat. But the problem was, I don't think people took video conferencing very seriously. It was a nice way for you to call your grandma, or you could, call your little kids up. But we didn't actually, I don't think professionally, we thought about video conferencing and really remote working. I know currently the trend is like, oh yeah, we were always thinking about remote working. But less than 12% of Americans, according to the BLM, were involved with remote working. And COVID changed every single thing. So we'll talk about that. Got a little technical thing I want to talk to you about, and we'll just do it real quick. MPEG, you can read what it stands for. It stands for Moving Pictures Experts Group. That has been the key for making video conferencing and the ability to talk back and forth on the internet along with low-cost devices. That's been the key to this success. That was a way that scientists came up to move packets of information quickly back and forth. So just from a technical standpoint, I thought Tony Havocks would like that might be interesting to him. It might be interesting to the rest, to some of you. But that little term is key. So here comes the 20s, the late 2010s, and lo and behold, here comes COVID, and we get introduced to things like social distancing, shelter at home, and businesses had to respond in some way. And we dealt with off-site working. And we also, for some of us, at least for me and some of us, we had tools that were out there already, and I had never used them. And that these tools, we're going to use those for social distancing and video conferencing. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about presenting you at your best in terms of a video conference. Two key things that I have found out, basic knowledge about this video conferencing thing. Sound matters, and 1B, lighting matters. Sound matters. I don't know why we call it video conferencing and not audio video conferencing. People will complain about the sound way quicker than they will about your video. They pretty much, you're going to look like you look, but if I can't hear you, or if you're mumbling, they will complain immediately. Hey, the two biggest complaints are, I can't hear you and I can't understand you. So one of my recommendations to my members of CBN is like, hey, practice being you in front of a video. Record yourself. Zoom is free. There's a bunch of free conference call. There are a couple of, of these things that are really free. Practice speaking in front of them. Watch your meter. Watch your pace. Watch your face. Do you have facial tics? Do you do strange things? And we're going to talk about that. Some funny stuff later on in this video. There's two key points. Sound matters. 1B, lighting matters. Lighting matters, and we're gonna show you that here in a minute. It's funny but you are now on a camera. And so you might want to think about how you look. You might want to think about how you dress. It's amazing to me how relaxed people get in these video conferences, and you just forget that the camera's there. You forget that somebody's looking at you. I got some funny anecdotes, and we'll talk about that. When you do your presentations, there's some technical things that we'll talk about. You want to look presentable, etc. But 1A, sound matters. If you can't get good video, please, please, please at least work on having good sound. And then 2, lighting matters in a video. So last week we had Jerry on. Jerry and I had gotten together a couple of days earlier and just walked through a couple of things. And here's Jerry when we first initially started. As you can see, we got some lighting issues here. It's probably not the most flattering. He's what I call half moon, half lit. We can look at his eyes, etc. And then just by making a simple adjustment, he moved his camera and his laptop around. I now got better lighting. If we look at his eyes, one of the things that every newbie does, and I did it myself, is because it is a video, you start looking at yourself. And I am good looking, don't get me wrong, but the problem is you're looking at me and I'm looking at me. It's tough. So one of the things I talked to Jerry about is like, hey, Jerry, you got to think about looking in the camera. And so if you notice here, his eyes are looking down, but right here, he's transferred. And one thing about Jerry was he was a quick study. It was funny. It was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So he was a quick study. So he did what was necessary, and we got that done pretty quickly. Just if you saw that flash up, one of the things about Zoom, one of the reasons I need to get a hold of Andrews, they only give you 40 minutes. So I have about 10 more minutes, 40 minutes if you don't subscribe. So I got about 10 more minutes. So we're going to run through this pretty quickly. But I thought I wanted to show you Jerry because I think the before and after was pretty good. And there's some other things that we can talk about, raising your camera so that you're at eye level, etc. But I just thought that this was a pretty dramatic change, and it didn't cost any money, didn't make any changes that were significant. Real quickly, you want to look presentable. I talked earlier about the fact people do strange things on video. One of the things that happens on videos, you just forget you're on video. So this is a classic one. The guy was talking. These are out on the internet. The guy's talking. He just gets up. He's getting bored. He gets up and he walks away. And it's like, oh yeah, you might want to dress, at least dress like you were going to go answer a doorbell. Well, if you answer your doorbell in your underwear, that's a second issue. So, but at least dress like you're going to answer a doorbell. A real interesting thing. It says if you don't have a false background, for instance, I have a false background. Alex uses a false background. If you don't have a false background, kind of look behind you as to what's going on. I'm not sure a picture of you reaching into a cow's butt is what you want to show. Think about it. Just take a second and look behind you. And if you got the little annotation here talks about inappropriate art. It's not inappropriate art necessarily, but it's the dirty clothes. It's the fact that you got pizza boxes everywhere. Just take a second and look behind you. Okay, this is the funny part. So these are pictures from my very first video. Oh my God. After I saw it, I thought, who was this guy? So I got some don'ts and do's here. This first one, looking yonder. I had never done a video before. I'm not paying attention to me. There's nobody else in the room with you. So you're just relaxed. And I have a chair that rocks. So you can't sit here, but I'm rocking and I'm just floating. I'm listening to other people. But I'm not actually giving eye contact. One of the things I've done my research on is you have to create virtual eye contact. So that's what I call looking yonder. Then I got Stevie Wonder. I don't know why I talk with my eyes closed. I just do. So, but that shows up on video. If I were having a conversation with you guys, I would not normally be closing my eyes that much. Let me check my notes. Once again, I didn't know or understand that video has frame. That little area here to here, that's called the video frame. So I had my notes, instead of doing like today where I have my notes in front of me, I had my notes kind of off to the side. So I'm bending out of frame every time to look at them. And it just so happened that the group I was working with, I needed a lot of notes. So about every time I would speak, my head would duck in and out, in and out, in and out. So it's one of those things, just be aware. And if you're going to do a presentation, have your notes in front of you so that you can look at that camera. Okay, I got this one. It's called Guess. I want you to take a real close look at this guy's eyes. I want you to guess what he's doing. If you say sleeping or snoring, you win the prize. You know, don't forget your own camera, which is kind of interesting to me. I now understand those Real Housewives shows and those reality TV shows. Yeah, you forget pretty quickly that your own camera. I mentioned earlier, I have a chair that rocks and rolls. And, oh, by the by, my chair spins. Do I need to say anything else? Yeah, I spun around in the chair. Just pay attention. Don't act like no one's looking. Be careful about having your visitors. Wander around the video view screen. So I got a classic one here. Right in the middle of a meeting, someone says, oh, excuse me. They go and they excuse themselves. The next thing we know in the meeting, we hear toilet flushing. Okay, here's the thing. I didn't know when I first started these things, mute your sound and you can mute your video. If you got to get up and leave, that's fine, but mute them suckers. I really don't want to hear you flushing the toilet, yelling at the dog, etc. So avoid these distractions. Then quickly, I learned some things since plan ahead. So now when I do these video conferences, I try to have a script. I know what I want to say. I try to be aware of my surroundings. I watch my dress. And number 5, I've learned how to use the software that I'm using for communications. In this case, it's Zoom or whatever it is, free conference calls, team go to meetings, a whole bunch of other stuff. So you want to be aware of that. So I did want to do a summary. Hey, just be careful you don't become this guy. Real quick, we're going to wrap this thing up. This is going to be an epic video conference call fail. Pay attention to this girl right here. This is a meeting of a class meeting. It's a training session, I believe, for social workers. I'm gonna turn this video on. If you can't hear it, turn it up. But pay attention to this girl right here, and just watch this lady's face. This is an epic Zoom failure. So let's watch this for a second. Pay attention to this girl right here.
We can never get involved with a former client ever, regardless of how long it's been, versus like some other professions, say a few years or whatever. I think it really depends on just like the ethical standards of the profession. And in reality, I've heard that social work kind of has very high standards and like good standards in terms of things, and that oftentimes people of other professions don't have.
Oops, she figured it out. She figured it out. I want to do it real quick because, like I say, until we pay for Zoom, we don't get a lot of time. So this thing may cut us off. That's one of the reasons I need to get a hold of Andrew. Just pay attention. Be aware of what's going on. Be aware of what's around you. But, have fun. Try to do the best you can on these things. We've got 1:46 according to Zoom. So we're not going to have a whole lot of back and forth. But I just thought it was so funny. And when I look back at my own stuff, I just thought, oh my God, who was this guy? So some of those tips I just wanted to get to you. And one that was an epic Zoom failure. One of the things I've learned is that if you are doing a video recording, do not move your device with you. If you got to get up and move, leave that device. Don't take your device with you. I have a camera, so it's fixed. But if you're doing it on a telephone, etc., like that, one of the ways to avoid that epic Zoom failure, don't move your device. So that's all I got for you guys this morning. I don't know what Zoom's going to do. It might cut us off here. I don't know, but did want to get with you. Rhoda, I'll have to get a hold of him and figure out how to get paid if we want to continue to use Zoom. We are not having any mechanical problems with Zoom. The other one that I use, free conference call, we may try to use it next week. It is free, but we had a heck of a lot of mechanical problems with it. So we'll give it a try. Marianne, go ahead.
I actually have the upgraded if you want to use my Zoom.
Hey, if you don't mind that, and just give me some administrative so that I can set it up so that we can make sure that we have just let me know that, and you and I'll talk offline about it. Like I say, but there's no reason.